Hey, here we are again. Another Monday rolls around. Happy Monday to you. It's Yvonne here from Women's Fitness Adventures, founder and CEO. Loving life. It is great. It is almost Christmas. Well, not almost, but it feels like that. The weather is warm. People are happier when it's warm and sunny. So welcome to Monday Night Live. Tonight is a deviation, but a link to all the things that we talk about when we're on the trail and when we're in person. And when we're online together in our Women's Fitness Adventures membership community. But it's also some of the questions that have started to come across my desk and some of the things I've been seeing and hearing around the traps. And that is truth-telling. How do we know the difference between all the information that's out there, what's the truth and what's not? And probably relevant these days with, elections all over the place and politicians, whatever side of the fence you sit on, how do we know what is truth, what is fact, what is fiction, what is being told what we want to hear, and all that. So we're going to dive into that as it relates to hiking today. So feel free to comment away, ask questions, give personal experience or opinions as well, because it makes for a really hearty discussion and there is no right or wrong. So hello, Sandra from Sydney, and hello, Alethea from the south coast of New South Wales. So lovely to have you here. So if this is your first time, welcome. If this is, you're a regular, as some of you have already checked in, that is fantastic. And if you're watching on the replay, then please let me know as well. So right now we have a community of real everyday women, but every day is also extraordinary and extravagant and, everything excellent that you can think of that starts with E in New Zealand at the moment. Left yesterday, or met last night, I should say, in Auckland, and heading off on our New Zealand North Island fitness adventure. And they are seeing some wonderful places. And of course, the ultimate is the Tongariro crossing, which is considered one of in the top 20 day hikes in the world. So pretty special. Look out for their pictures and stories this week as they go through on Facebook. So hello, Jelena, and hello, Marie, as well. So there's so much information that we get. We get bombarded with emails. We get bombarded with the news. We get social media, as in Facebook, as in Instagram. Heaven forbid if you're on TikTok, I'm not on there. I have no intention of going on there. There are stories, there are conversations, there are so many ways that information can come into our world. And how do we know what's real and authentic and what's curated and edited and crafted, and is it actually true? And I have this topic tonight because there's been quite a few questions that have come my way around, I've read this on social media. What does that mean? Or I'm doing this because I saw such and such on social media, or I got an email, or I read an article in the news. So I'm going to break that down a little bit tonight. So the other day I had to go to a specialist just as a follow-up thing. And I've never had it before, but the specialist actually asked me, what my life was like growing up and what my body image was. And I had never been asked that question before. And I'm not going to share with you what my answers were, but I'll share with you part of the story that I told her. And that was that I never really bought into magazines. I was never, like when I grew up, there was Dolly. Cosmo was a bit too risque for me, same with Cleo. And then by the time I got to the age where they were appropriate, they had disappeared from the market. So I was never really into magazines, and growing up as a girl born in the 60s and then into the 70s, probably the thing that resonated body image the most was Elle Macpherson and her Tab Cola ads. So I had never really bought into emotionally or intentionally bought into that whole body image thing. But as I am, obviously much older now, it's really, really hard to escape what people look like out in the social media world. And when you are looking at that regularly, and then you go to a shopping center, or you go, somewhere where they're real life people, they look nothing like what we see on social media. And I got to talking to this specialist about it. And I said, it's really hard to know what's real anymore and what's not. And then I started, as I'm always, always online doing lots of things, thinking about the information that I see and hear every day, the things that go viral on Instagram and Facebook. They're the two things that I do. We're on YouTube, but it's just replays of stuff. And we see it all the time in this real versus not real. And we often will get some comments on our Facebook page, which I curate, of mentions of, which can't be helped because we're wearing clothes, of muffin top or the color of our hair, or something about our appearance, but really overlook the fact that we're actually outdoors and active and doing things and have, beautiful big smiles on our faces. But the ads and stories that we see on Facebook and Instagram around hiking gear and equipment, around hiking tips or tricks, is how do you know if they're real or if they're created, for consumption and for the algorithm to get that person or that organization higher and higher up the chain. And the more clicks you have, or the more links, or the more someone comments, there's opportunities for people to make money out of that. So really important to kind of park that one there. And hello, Ellen, and hello, Christine, as well. And hello, Karen, too. But some of those stories are real and some aren't real. And how do you know what's real? And there's a great, I'm not going to say what it is, and I'm not bagging out on anything. There's a great on Instagram, I don't know the name of the organization, but they're posting motivational quotes about hiking, and they're really good quotes, but you can tell that they're not created by a person, that they're created by AI, and they get lots and lots of comments. So is that real? Is that addressing what hikers really want, that motivation, or is it just, I guess, artificially propping us up? The other thing is, out there are fitness professionals, there are travel professionals, there are writers, there are videographers, and the more we click and engage on their pages, the more they're pushed to the forefront, the more they're pushed into your feed. So whether it's real or not, what we're clicking on is the question. But what happens when you click on it is actually reinforces that you like that, and that is a good thing. So, as you know, I run, I hike, I do lots of things. So I see lots of fitness professionals on there. And if I listened to every fitness professional on Instagram, I would be doing so many different things to strengthen exactly the same muscle. I would be, doing that to strengthen my legs, doing this to grow my hair, doing eating this for stamina, wearing, using this for recovery, taking a tablet that would allow me to poo out 5 kilos in one go. Don't eat, do eat, fast, starve yourself, don't eat after 4 p.m. Don't eat before midday, eat this, wild herb grown in the backyard of, an ancient place in Journey into the Center of the Earth. Do eat, but only eat meat, or do eat and don't eat meat. Like, there are so many messages and so many things coming at us all the time that it's really hard to know what's real and what's not real, and what we should do and who we should take all that information from as well. And what about credentials as well? And there was a study I listened to the other day that said that if you, a proven independent research study, that on Instagram, if there is a young woman on there, wearing a bikini, talking about some sort of food that we should all eat to improve our appearance, it will get pushed to the top of the feed, and it will get so many more likes and engagement than scientists writing about, say, for example, the food pyramid that we should have to live a healthy life and feed, ourselves the vitamins, minerals, and, food requirements to build healthy bones and healthy muscles. And that is an example in its purest form of science being trumped by the visuals of a young woman. And I say this because I get tricked into it too and think, oh gosh, if I just ate that, I could look like that. Or if I, just followed that training plan, I could do that. So really important to start to distinguish between, what's real and what's not, what's truth and what's not, what's science-backed and what's not, because boring posts with facts about, food from scientists who have researched it and have hard data is not as visually appealing as someone doing acrobatics in a bikini because they had wild ginseng for breakfast. So I want everyone to have a think about that. And I say this, why am I bringing this up? Why am I saying this? Is because it's easy to want, with our hiking as well, a really quick fix. And what we know, and what our members, all of you know, is it's this consistency over time and finding the right source and sticking with that source, whatever that, source of information or truth is, to get you the results that you want. So how do you find the truth? And if anyone's got any comments or any observations from your own world, let me know, because I'm sure I can't be the only one who's seen this phenomenon out there. How do you find what the truth is? And my colleagues and I have been having this chat. And how do you know? How do you know that person who keeps dishing up the stuff in front of you online is legit or not legit? And the key is to ask questions, is to ask around, look for testimonials, look for stories, look for success stories. Read the words, because the words you'll soon find out if they're in your language or not, as in, are they broken English? Are they full English? Are they American English? Are they emotionless? If they're emotionless, they're generally AI generated as well. Look for those stories and look for the language as well. But ask other people the questions that you would, if you have say it's a hiking site out there and they're telling you something, ask someone who is a hiker or a trusted friend in that space and say, look, I saw this, do you think that this is real? Because we can all learn lots and do lots of things with the information that we find online, but we can also go to the other way and do things that could be detrimental if we're not aware of how that impacts ourselves. So how do you get results? How do we break through this clutter of and I don't have any comments, so interesting, of being literally bombarded. The algorithm listens, the phone listens. If you have Siri for your car, then the microphone is on all the time, so it's listening. How do you get results? And we were talking about this today in our hiking. And the way to get results is consistency. The way to get results is to show up. Despite all the plethora of information that is out there on how to do it faster, there was a post the other day about running a marathon and how you could run a marathon, which is 42.2 kilometers, by training only 3 lots of 14 kilometers a week. And how you could successfully do that and run a fabulous time. Now, there may be some truth in that. I downloaded the plan, I had a look, and I really don't think that is possible, but that information is out there. So how do you get results? It's consistency. You show up, and, even if we might have stopped for a little while and think, oh, I need to get back, that starting up again and that consistency is how we do get those results. There is no quick fix. Our fitness is something that we build on over time. Our endurance is, we can be, say we swim a lot, we can be really swimming fit. And if we want to change that to hiking, then our hiking age might be really small because we've just started. So, it is that building up over time that gives us the results. It is listening to 1 or 2 sources and sticking with that source. Now, some of you may probably not know this, but I used to love doing courses all the time for my business. I love learning, and I would enroll in all of these courses, and some of them were great and some of them were not so great. And I was wasting a lot of money. And then I realized that the one group that I belong to and have belonged to for 9 years now is really the only source, because it gives me all the information that I need, all the credible information, and it understands me as a person as well. So listen to that source, that one or two sources that you know you trust, and that can get you the results and can understand you as well. And that's really hard when so much is being thrown at you on social media and you think, well, that's a good thing, and that's a good thing, and that's a good thing. But if you're just doing one or two things fleetingly, then that isn't consistent and won't get results. And also in particular, seek professional help when it comes to injuries. So seeking out your health professionals rather than Dr. Google or, putting it in a Reddit forum or something like that, because they're the ones who know you and know your body as well. If you typed into any social media now, I've got a little bit of an ankle issue right now. If I typed into to any of my social media or Google right now how to fix an ankle, I could go down so many rabbit holes and buy so many creams and so many different things that may or may not fix my ankle. Or I could just go to my physio and he could see me and assess me and say, hey, Yvonne, this is actually what you need to do. So the other thing is to, this truth telling in social media and finding the truth. And it's getting harder and harder because, AI is very clever and it's very beneficial in a lot of ways, but it's getting harder to know what's true and what's not. And there's a couple of people out there that are, that have hiking posts, and I know what they put on there. I won't say who they are. They're global and just come through the feed. But the comments that they put in there about hike training are designed to get people to comment, to disagree and to comment. And I saw one about hiking downhill and I looked at it and went, I would never instruct it that way. And then so I decided to read the comments, and I would say 99% of the comments on there were reinforcing what I thought, is that there's no way that you should actually walk down a hill that way. But when discussing it with my business peers, it was designed to generate comments, because the more comments that it generated, the more it got pushed up into people's feeds so that it would appear again and again and again. So let me just check in with some comments. Sandra says, I'm always skeptical of quick, easy fixes. Yeah, and I think that comes with our wisdom as well, that, try it. And it's like there isn't, hard work is the way to go. And Ellen says, consistency over time holds true for both working towards your fitness goals and for information research. When you find a trusted source of reliable and useful information, stick with that and don't be tempted to get on a random bandwagon that may not be reputable or reliable. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes across anything really, not necessarily just our hiking fitness, but diets are probably one of the really big ones there, and menopause is probably another big one there. It's finding those reliable sources, but it's also accepting where you're at. And I've been doing some strength training with this wonderful woman, and it was accepting that where we're at in our life stage is where we're at, and all about, for me as women, that we are, and I was talking about this on Saturday at hiking, that we're strong and we're capable, and that, whilst we might think we want to be back looking like our 20-year-old self, even though we were probably never happy with our 20-year-old self, is that being strong and being comfortable in our skin and capable and having mobility is a much better place to be than thinking that we're going to be, one day, getting back on the cover of Sport, or not getting on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So accepting where you're at also helps with this sourcing of information and truth telling, looking for the right information, not chasing down these rabbit holes. So Margaret says, we had this discussion at book club and it is getting harder to tell what is true. Absolutely. And I use AI a bit for work. I have conversations with it in terms of I'll ask it some questions around, I'll put in some information and I'll ask it some questions around, what do you think about this idea? And you can actually have a conversation with it. But at no point do I let it become my voice. I use it as I guess, an assistant I have that's sitting right next to me on the computer. And it is getting harder and harder to tell what's true. But also in the media as well, that clickbait of, ambulance ramping or, extreme weather or the storm chasers, finding images that may or may not be true as well. So it is getting harder and harder, and it's getting harder to find true. Well, we can have opinions either side, for and against, but it's really getting harder and harder to find the truth that's in the middle so that we can actually formulate our own opinions as well. Hello, Anne from Canberra. Lovely to have you here. And Sandra says, I think it's also important to be okay with where one is, physically, emotionally, etc., whilst consistently working towards one's goals. Having said that, I'm also aware that it's so easy to feel discontented if we compare to others. Yeah, absolutely. And this whole comparison to others is, I would really not like to be a teenager now. I think that, when I went to my 40-year school reunion, and if any of you are watching that were at my school, I went in May this year, school was hard enough, let alone having social media pressures and comparison and keeping up and, being able to see who goes to what parties and if you're not invited and, all that sort of stuff on your self-esteem and, your emotional confidence or fragility as well. Comfortable with where we're at and then comfortable with where we're going, because we should always be a work in progress. And not really be complacent, because if we get too comfortable, then, long-term it's our health consequences that we want to really work on, our ability to move, our ability to keep moving all the time. And I was chatting with someone on, I think I told some of you who we were doing our online trail fit training, who's writing a book about, from a male perspective of, the second half of life. And she was writing it from the female perspective of, when you're over 50 and the things that you look at and the things that you do and the things that you want to do and how life changes and all that sort of thing. And I think we should always have this goal of wanting self-improvement, but not to the detriment of comparing ourselves to others, because, we're all really unique, and getting comfortable with that is a really hard thing to do. And it's all a work in progress for all of us. But I'm sure when you get comfortable with who you are, like really comfortable, then that would be a really great place. And I don't really know many people who are there. Well, if I do, I don't know them well enough if they are there. And hi, Leonie, she is watching from school camp. So accepting where we're at also comes back to, one of the things that I hear all the time is and so when I was at this meeting the other day with the lady writing the book, a friend of hers came along and introduced her to me, and she said, I could never do hiking. I'm not fit enough. And I said, well, let me ask you this. Is it that you're not fit enough or you're worried about holding everybody up? She said, well, actually, I'm worried about holding everybody up. And I said, are you actually really worried about holding everybody up, or are you worried that you're going to feel a burden? She said, how did you know that? How did you know that I would feel that I was a burden if I got there and my fitness wasn't to everybody else's? And that is, I think, a woman thing, and that we don't want to, drag anybody down or feel that we are that burden. And so we hold off doing anything. And so accepting where we're at can also be to our detriment if we say, well, I accept where I'm at, I'm not going to go hiking because I'm just not fit enough, misses out on such a wonderful opportunity of outdoor adventure. So being that work in progress, as you said, working towards a goal, Sandra, means that you accept where you're at, but it doesn't mean that you're staying where you're at. It's all about challenging yourself in very small ways to move forward, so that in decades from now, we're all still moving freely and capably in our own world. So, I really want you to have a think about that. And, for our members who we see quite regularly, let's have a chat about that as we go through the week with our online activities as well, especially Trail Fit Training. We can add more to that this week too. But really starting to, as it's getting harder and harder, as you said, Margaret, really starting to look at something on social media and go, yeah, is that real? Is that not real? If it's not real, why am I looking at it? What is it that's interested me? Where does that fit into my world as well? And I am now just questioning everything, because there's just so much out there, and so much, even in food, so much truth and untruth that, just question everything and trust your instincts as well. So that was my topic for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed that. Checking in with everyone. We have the weather certainly in Queensland has warmed up today. It's very, very warm. So I encourage all of our members, as we put in an email on Friday, to look at your summer hiking masterclass, and to also make sure that we hydrate, not just the day before our hiking, but, the week before. And same with fueling as well. It's what we do in the 7 days that precede something, not the day before. Also managing to get enough sleep in this heat too. Book club starts next week. It's our new book. I better get on with reading or listening to that. And we also have our masterclass next week, where we are talking to some of our members and their success and their journey to what they have achieved over the course of the past 12 months. So I do hope you'll join us for that, and you can register for that on the website. And it is almost getting Christmas time. Melbourne Cup maybe for some of you tomorrow, but for Christmas we have some Christmas parties on the east coast of Australia. Apologies to Perth, we can't get there. We are going to South Australia. We can't get there this year to Perth, so our apologies. But we do have Christmas parties on the east coast of Australia and South Australia, and they're on the website now to book into. And if you're in New South Wales, there's only a couple of spots left for that one. And Ellen says, last note, I think that you have to accept where you are so that you have a baseline for measuring improvement when training for a goal. Yeah. And the number of people that have asked me what my next goal is, because the marathon, have asked me what my next goal is, know that I link myself goal to goal to goal. And we know that from our couch to mountain, we've followed those women who were on our program for the last couple of years, that when they do book into something, whatever that might be, they have another goal to anchor them forward. Then the commitment to self, the commitment to physical fitness, the commitment to activity, the commitment to making space and making time remains and goes up in terms of time spent on self, time exercising, self-esteem, confidence, prioritizing oneself, all go up as well. So really important to keep linking yourself to goals. On that note, Sydney Marathon was announced today as a world major, so that is my goal at the end of August next year. So another thing to link into. So thanks for tuning in tonight. I look forward to catching up with you for our members over the course of the week, and back here next Monday night. So take care, and thanks for watching. And if you have any last questions, just drop them in and I'll check in soon. Thanks.